There is a part of your goblin brain that needs to make things with your hands. I feel like in today's world, we're a little bit undernourished creatively. So I invite you to come hang out and chat with me while I sculpt some teeny tiny goblins and hopefully bring you a little bit of whimsy, wisdom, and inspire you to make something with your own goblin hands. For those of you who are new here, hi, I'm Nish. I am a miniature sculptor, a crafter, and a maker of things, and I'm working on a world building project called Goblins. Goblins is a fantasy world centered around goblins, and today I'm going to be sculpting a few of its denizens. One of my hobbies is collecting and sometimes painting old hand-sculpted miniatures. There is something about a hand-sculpted miniature that I absolutely love. There is a charm, a humanity that feels a little bit magical. I am not alone in my love for these models, but I feel like with the flood of AI art and 3D printing, more people are being drawn to handmade things in general. This is part of the reason I sculpted these miniatures by hand. I want to contribute to a scene that values hand sculpting, but also I want to encourage other people to make things with their hands. Sculpting these goblins brought me so much joy, satisfaction, and contentment. I'm not saying that sculpting goblins fixed my mental health, but I'm not saying it. There is a core part of ourselves that is drawn to certain kinds of creativity. One of those things, I think, is making things with your own hands. Another is storytelling. Storytelling is one of our oldest traditions, and I think it's what we're doing here. Listening to people recount their stories makes you feel like a part of something. It builds connection. I think the term parasocial relationship kind of soured the value of what we're doing here. There is value in listening to other people's stories. You can find joy and solace and connection and inspiration in it, and those connections are real. There are people that I have met through YouTube that I have traveled across the world to see, and even if you're not engaging directly with a creator, it's still a connection and it's still social. I think talking to a robot is parasocial. More and more I feel like we are existing in a digital space, which can be a mixed bag socially. There are more people you can connect to, but maybe those connections are more surface level. But in existing in this digital space, I feel like what we are lacking most is making things. This doesn't have to be making art either. It could be putting up a shelf or building a fence or making a trinket. There is something deeply nourishing to making something with your hands. I feel like more and more, the world encourages you to do one thing perfectly and leave everything else to somebody else. I've heard so many people in my life say, well, I'm a horrible singer, so I shouldn't sing, or I can't even draw a stick figure. But those aren't excuses not to do those things. But also, that may be true today. If you try it again tomorrow, you might just get a little better. I have known multiple people in my life who couldn't carry a tune, who just kept singing anyway, whether that be through doing karaoke or just because they had a song in their heart. And you know what happened? They got better. They got good. Nothing is stopping you from getting better except not doing the thing. When lockdown began, I designed a D&D character that I really liked named Malvafor, and even though I had no ability to play in person, I decided to make him a mini. This was my first time sculpting a mini, and it is not good, but I loved making it so much that I just kept sculpting minis, and I got better. And about a year or so later, I tried making him again, and the difference is crazy. And as satisfying as it is to improve in a craft, that's not why I did it. I did it because I loved it. Getting good, being good, and making good art is not the point of making art. I think AI art is a huge problem, but I understand why people make it. I think everyone has a desire to make things, but we are taught that art is only worth making if it's good. Now more than ever, people who don't have a natural affinity for art or music are actively discouraged not to do it. But singing, dancing, art, storytelling, these are core parts of our goblin brains. People used to sing and dance together, and it didn't matter who was good, because those things are fun. Art is supposed to be fun. The thought that the final product is the point of making art couldn't be further from the truth. The point of making art is not the final product, it's the making. There is a reason why people want to hear the story behind a painting or watch the behind the scenes of a movie they like, because the process is important and it makes you like the final product more. I've heard the argument in favor of making AI music that learning instruments and software is too hard, that making music is just joyless labor, But to me, that couldn't be farther from the truth. That struggle they're describing, the learning, the improving, the problem solving, is quite literally what I live for. The making of things is what makes me feel alive. The final product or the recognition is nice, but it's not the reason I make art. The more I work on a computer, the more I realized how unbalanced it makes me. And when I go back to working on a project with my hands, I get excited to wake up every day. I feel regulated. I feel right. I might be an extreme case because I have an unending desire to make things all the time, but the feeling of regulation is not unique to me. When I make art with other people, I see the same thing in them. Making art is just regulating. But even though I make things every day, there's a part of my creative spirit that I am also undernourishing. I kind of stopped playing music. All through my teens and 20s, very few days went by where I wasn't playing music, but I don't really play anymore. I got busy, there were other art forms I wanted to focus on, and to be honest, it was harder to justify because I wasn't making money at it, but that's not the reason I started playing. That was never a concern. I loved singing, I loved playing with my friends, I loved buying weird instruments and learning how to play them. For the past few months, I have felt a void inside, and it kind of manifested into an overwhelming urge to learn how to play the lute. So I'm gonna do it. I've got a guy making me a lute right now. I don't know how to play it. I'm not gonna be good. It's gonna be hard, and I am so excited. I can feel my inner goblin screaming with joy. You have to feed your inner goblin. Speaking of goblins, let me tell you a little bit about the ones I'm making right now. My current work in progress is my massive dark fantasy castle that I'm building, and the lore of it is that it once belonged to a human wizard long before the Great Goblin era. The castle many years later was discovered by a group of goblins, and every goblin knows that a castle needs a dark wizard. So one of them shouted, "I'm the dark wizard." The rest of them agreed and started serving as his minions. The goblins' collective belief in the Dark Goblin Wizard gave him immense and terrible power, and with time, he even began to resemble the human wizards from the paintings they found in the castle. He started wearing the old wizard's clothes, and grew taller and lankier, and even sprouted a magnificent beard. In the tallest tower of the castle, the goblins found the old wizard's spellbook, so the Dark Goblin Wizard attached it to the end of a staff, using the tome's cursed power completely incorrectly. My intention with Goblins is that the goblins will often find magic items and are actively encouraged to use them incorrectly. Whether that be taking a powerful hero's sword and using it as an arrow, or turning a magical shield into a soup pot. The idea of a spellbook being tied to the end of a staff is a reference to one of my favorite games of all time, For the King. The design of the Dark Goblin Wizard was inspired by The Princess and the Goblin. I really wanted him to feel like the villain in an 80s animated movie. My second design was inspired by my trip to the UK. While I was in York, I found this bookshop that sold old maps and prints, and I found this print of these weird goblin creatures wearing fancy clothes and brandishing swords, and I absolutely fell in love with it, so I decided to design a mini based on it. This is my hobgoblin swashbuckler based on the print that I bought. As I was sculpting him, he started to resemble a boar, which I really like. The goblins in Sleeping Beauty are some of my favorites. Some of them resemble animals, they all look completely different, but they are undeniably goblins, and somehow work together. This is something I really wanted to capture with my line of goblins. As I was designing my goblins, I kept that animal theme in mind and designed this guy who resembles a frog. This was originally an alternative design to the Dark Goblin Wizard, but he felt like a fisherman and I really liked his vibe. This one I feel like really fits in with my friend Tina's Goblin Pirate crew. Maybe someday we'll do a Goblins Hazelands crossover. It'll probably happen. If you've been here before, you know that I love 80s fantasy and that Brian Froud is one of my favorite artists of all time, so I designed a couple of goblins inspired by his work. The first is my Dodo Goblin. This one feels very labyrinth. I feel like a dodo would make the worst guard. They would be so unobservant, so slow, so easy to trick, so I made it a guard. I really want two of these guys to be the buffoonish guards of the walls for my Dark Goblin castle. And my last goblin was also inspired by Brian Froud. It is a cat-like thief goblin. I really like it when a little character is carrying an extremely heavy load. I feel like this guy had a super successful heist, and now he's extremely slow and cumbersome, and all he has to defend himself is a little knife. My plan with these models is to mold and cast them and then do a big release, which will include a larger narrative for each goblin character and a RPG adventure that you can run using them all. The idea that people will be able to have these models, paint them, put them in their armies, or write their own stories with them is about the best thing that I can think of. When I think about what I want to achieve in my life, I hope I encourage others to be creative, I hope I make some people happy, and leave behind some beautiful things. And maybe, hopefully, some of the things I leave behind will encourage more happiness and creativity in the future. The denizens of Goblins don't concern themselves with gold or status. Their only concerns are, what am I going to do today, and what am I going to do tomorrow? So what am I going to do tomorrow? Well, I'm going to keep working on my big dumb castle, and I'm going to learn how to play the lute. What are you going to do? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you liked the video, subscribe to get more goblin nonsense, and if you want to help support the channel, you can join me over on Patreon, link down below. I hope you got inspired to make something, and as always, let me know what you want to see me make next time. Bye!